Hello everyone, welcome back to the Jikook Diaries channel. Have you ever seen a small moment, but it felt like the whole world stopped spinning? One look, one touch, 1 second that made millions of armies suddenly fall silent, and then cry together on social media. And this time it happened again. But it wasn't just because Jimin and Jungkook looked so close. It wasn't just because their chemistry was too obvious to ignore, but because in the midst of it all, a shocking moment occurred that sent the fandom into a panic. Many fans began to wonder, did Taehyung interrupt Jikook again? Was this just a joke between the members as usual? Or was there something far more emotional hiding behind their smiles? Social media turned into a sea of tears. Timelines were filled with slow-motion videos, theories, analysis, and the reactions of fans who couldn't stop shaking after seeing the moment. Some armies even said they had to rewatch the video multiple times because they couldn't believe what had just happened. And it all started with one seemingly ordinary moment. As the concert unfolded with incredible energy, all the BTS members seemed to be enjoying the atmosphere. Fans sang along, light sticks filled the stadium like a vibrant purple galaxy, and Jimin and Jungkook seemed perfectly comfortable by each other's side throughout the show. They laughed constantly. Jungkook was seen several times secretly observing Jimin while the other members were talking. And as usual, armies immediately noticed everything, because that's always the case with Jungkook. They don't need to do anything big to send the fandom into a frenzy. Sometimes just a small smile from Jungkook toward Jimin is enough to make millions lose their breath. But the atmosphere began to change when Taehyung suddenly stepped in. First, it seemed playful. Taehyung came in jokingly, trying to get Jungkook's attention while Jimin was talking to him. The other members laughed, fans cheered, and it all seemed like a normal interaction between close friends. But armies, who were already too familiar with their dynamic, immediately noticed something different. Jungkook looked awkward, and Jimin just smiled slightly and looked down. Within minutes, social media was filled with comments like, "Taehyung interrupts Jikook again?" Or, "Why does this always happen when Jimin and Jungkook are having a moment?" Some fans even tearfully joked that Taehyung had Jikook radar, because he always appeared right when Jimin and Jungkook were having a romantic moment. But what made the situation even more emotional was Jungkook's reaction afterward. Instead of walking away or changing the scene, Jungkook continued to search Jimin with his eyes. Several times the camera caught Jungkook smiling softly at Jimin, even while the other members were talking. And every time their eyes met, their expressions changed completely. It wasn't an ordinary look. It was a gaze too deep, too warm, too full of comfort. Armies instantly lost control. They look so in love. It's literally impossible to fake that. Why does Jungkook always look at Jimin like he's his whole world? Comments like that filled the internet in just a few minutes. But no one was truly ready for the next part. Because as the concert entered its final moments, the atmosphere suddenly turned much more emotional. The members began talking about their journeys, about the love of ARMY, about how they'd persevered through difficult times together. The stadium grew quieter. Many fans began to cry just from hearing the sincerity in their voices. And then, Jimin began to speak. With a soft voice and his signature small smile, Jimin said that there were certain people who made his life feel stronger every day. He said that amidst all the stress and fatigue, there was someone who always made him feel safe just by being near them. At that moment, the camera immediately focused on Jungkook. And Jungkook's expression changed instantly. He stared at Jimin unblinkingly. His smile slowly faded, replaced by an emotional gaze that sent the entire stadium into hysterical screams. ARMY began to realize, this wasn't just a joke. This wasn't ordinary fan service. There was something very real about that moment. Jimin then chuckled, as if embarrassed by what he had just said. But Jungkook never stopped staring. And that's where things really exploded. Because a few seconds later, Jungkook took the mic and said something that made millions of fans cry. He said that there was the person who always made him want to be the best version of himself. Someone who was always there without even having to say a word. Someone who made every difficult day feel lighter. Then Jungkook turned to Jimin and smiled. The stadium immediately erupted with the screams of the fans. Some of the other members even joined in the laughter, realizing how intense the moment was. Taehyung himself smiled as he watched their interaction, as if he knew ARMY was losing their minds at that very moment. But what broke the fandom's hearts the most was the way Jimin looked at Jungkook after hearing those words. Jimin looked genuinely touched. He stared at Jungkook with slowly teary eyes, then laughed shyly as he lowered his head. And Jungkook? He just continued to smile in a very tender way, a smile he rarely showed except to Jimin. Fans immediately dubbed the moment a love confession without saying "I love you," because that's exactly what it felt like. They didn't say the words directly, but everything in their expressions, in their voices, in the way they looked at each other, felt far more powerful than mere words. And of course, the internet never calmed down afterward. Videos of the moment immediately went viral on various platforms. Fans began creating lengthy threads analyzing every second of their interaction. Many said that Jimin and Jungkook's relationship now feels much more open than it did a few years ago. They seem more comfortable showing affection for each other in public without fear of being misunderstood. And honestly, it's hard to deny their chemistry, because even when they're just standing next to each other, the energy between them feels different. The way Jungkook always secretly notices Jimin. The way Jimin automatically looks for Jungkook in a crowd. The way they laugh just by seeing each other's expressions. It's all too natural to be fake. That's why many armies felt so emotional that night. Not because they wanted to force theories or assumptions, but because they saw two people who seemed truly comfortable and happy together. And in a world as stressful as the idol industry, seeing such genuine happiness is incredibly touching. Even some longtime fans said they'd never seen Jungkook this calm and gentle before. Perhaps that's why Taehyung's interruption moment made the whole thing go viral. Because after all those jokes and little messes, Jimin and Jungkook still found their way back to each other. As if no matter who interrupted, in the end, their eyes still searched for each other. And ARMY? ARMY will definitely never move on from that. To this day, fans still talk about one small detail that brought tears to their eyes. After all the members had finished speaking and the concert was almost over, Jungkook was seen quietly approaching Jimin. They stood very close. Jungkook whispered something in Jimin's ear, and Jimin immediately laughed, lightly hitting his arm with a red face. No one knows for sure what Jungkook said, but one thing is for sure, their gaze that night spoke louder than 1,000 words. And maybe that's why Jikook has always been so special to so many people. Not because of the drama, not because of the theory, but because amidst the glitz and glamour of the biggest stage in the world, they still looked like two people who just wanted to be near each other. And honestly, it was beautiful to see. What do you think, ARMY? Did Taehyung really interrupt Jikook's moment again? Or did all of that just make Jimin and Jungkook's love confession even more emotional? Let me know your thoughts in the comments because I'm really curious to hear your reactions after watching this moment. And if you also felt your heart break and melt at the same time seeing Jimin and Jungkook's gaze that night, don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of Jikook's latest updates. See you in the next video. And get ready because it looks like the most emotional story between Jimin and Jungkook has just begun.